Hello, I'm Dr. Matt Meehan. I'm one of the chiropractors here at Advanced Spine Joint and Wellness Center, and welcome. We're going to go over some things here for our home care class. Now these are tools that you'll be using at home that are going to benefit and increase the improvements that you're going to be getting here in the office with our treatments here. So unfortunately we can't see you every single day. You're only here 3 times a week, which is what we need at the beginning, but still there's many other days, many other hours during the week where you're not here, so we want to make sure that you're doing the best stuff at home and at work and making sure that you're maximizing everything that we're doing here in the office. So we're going to talk about a few things here. The first one is sleeping. Now it's something that we do every single day and we do it a lot. So what we want to do is make sure that you're sleeping in the correct positions and making sure that you're using the right tools during those the sleeping there in that position there. So when we look at the spine, if we look at the spine from the side, this is the front, this is the back. The main goal is to help support these curvatures. So we have a nice C-shaped curve forward in the neck, a C-shaped curve backwards in the middle back, and another C-shaped curve forward in the lower back. So there's 3 positions that people sleep in, either on our back, on our side, and on our stomach. So there's 2 that are pretty good and 1 that's not so good. So I'm going to start with side sleeping because that's how most people sleep. So when we look at the side sleeping position, other than the curves from the side, we want to look at the spine straight up and down, or when we're laying down on our side here, we should have a nice straight curve. You know, we don't want to see any curve up here, sideways there. So when we're laying on our side, we'll start with how the head should be and what kind of pillow we should be using. So side sleeping, we want to have a pillow that fits the space between our head and the bed. So unfortunately, there's no perfect pillow for side sleeping. There's no perfect pillow for everyone. Everyone's a little different. Some people have wider shoulders, some people have more narrow shoulders. So every pillow is going to be different. The main goal with side sleeping is making sure that when you have that pillow underneath your head, that it's not too much pillow or too many pillows where it's going to push your head up, or it's not enough pillow where your head's going to fall down into it there. So when you're sleeping, when you lay down on your side, have someone take a look at you so that they can see, is everything lined up straight up and down. So just like I'm sitting here, nose right over top of the chest there. Don't want my head this way, don't want my head this way. That will help take a lot of stress off of the neck, off of the upper back, off of the shoulders there. So next we want to take a look at what we're doing with the lower back. So this spine doesn't have the legs coming off there, but if you can imagine the legs coming off of the pelvis here, the main goal here is keeping the legs in a parallel position. When our legs fall over top of each other, where we sleep in like a fetal position or have one leg crossed over the other, our pelvis rotates, and that causes rotation here in the sacroiliac joints, causes rotation in that lumbar spine. So the more we can keep the legs in a parallel position, the better. So we have pillows like this that are meant to help with that. So these pillows go right between our legs, and it keeps our position when we're laying flat or laying on our side. So this will keep the legs in a nice parallel position there rather than falling over top of each other. If you don't have one of those, regular pillows are fine, but this is something that you're going to be doing, and it's not going to be a quick fix, it's not going to be an easy fix, but the more we can get into a routine of changing some of this, the better off it's going to be. First night you put a pillow between your legs, you probably wake up halfway through the night and the pillow will be outside of the blanket and across the room somehow. But don't be discouraged. Each night we go to bed, keep that pillow there. The more we do that, the more that becomes routine. Now when we're laying on our side, a lot of times we see people that say they're side sleepers, but actually are rotating a little bit. So they'll be on their shoulder here, and they'll rotate the pelvis down. So you're laying more on your belly and your shoulder, and you can see how much rotation is in the spine when we do that. Same thing happens if we're on our hip, and we rotate onto our chest here. We get a lot of rotation in that spine. So you can imagine if you're sleeping 4, 5, 6 hours a night, and you're rotated that whole time, it's going to cause a lot of problems. And that's why we see a lot of people that come in here, they go through the treatments, they say, I feel great after our treatment. They go home, eat dinner, go to bed, wake up the next morning, and they're back in pain again, and they just don't understand why. A lot of times it's because we're doing things that are undoing all the therapies that you're doing here in the office. So we want to make sure we maximize those therapies by doing the correct things at home. So, way to help prevent yourself from rolling and rotating there is using a body pillow. So having a pillow in front or behind you, depending on how you roll, will help to keep you in a more neutral position on your side. Use that as a little barrier there. And the nice thing about the body pillows is that you can have them in front of you and actually have that between your legs, so you can kind of kill two birds with one stone with that. It's a lot harder to throw a body pillow across the room than it is one of the smaller ones. So next we want to look at sleeping on our back. So this is where, again, we want to take a look at these curvatures in the spine. So when we're laying on our back, we want a pillow that's going to help support that curve. So if you've ever seen those pillows that have a little contour to them, a little divot, those are specifically made for back sleepers. So that is where the head will fall into that little hole or the divot in the pillow, and that little curve on the pillow helps support that curvature of the neck. Now most people we see come into our office have either a straight or actually a reversed curve in that neck. And because of that, they get damage in through the discs, damage in through the joints there, and when they try to force that curvature in the spine, it can be uncomfortable. So if you do have a reverse curve or a lack of curve, we can modify that a little bit there. We can take a look at your x-rays to see if you would fall into that category, because sometimes putting that curve or that pillow underneath there to support the curve can be uncomfortable, and it can not allow you to sleep properly with that. So we'd have to ease our way into those pillows there. But if you do have a decent curve or are on your way to getting that curve there, having that support underneath will be good. Now with these, you don't want to have a bunch of pillows when we lay on our back, and we won't want to push our head up, or we don't want to lay completely flat with no pillow where we're actually causing too much curve, because that can also cause damage and cause irritation on those joints when we're sleeping. Next, take a look at the lower back for the back sleeping here. Now with this, we want our legs out, but we want a little bend in the knee. So having a pillow underneath your knees to bend that knee up a little takes that pressure off the lower back and adds a little bit of support. So it actually rotates that pelvis so that we're not getting stress on those muscles in the lower back. Pelvis, hamstrings, all of those muscles there will relax a little bit easier with the legs bent. So keeping the pillow there to help relax that. All right, last one, like I said, is sleeping on our belly. So this is the one that if you're doing it, we really need to change that, because we can cause a lot of damage and cause a lot of reversal of what we're doing here in the office when we're laying on our bellies. So first thing off, when we're laying down like this, we get too much curve in that lower back, puts a lot of stress on these posterior joints here of the spine, those facet joints. We can't lay face down into the mattress or face down into our pillows, so what happens is we tend to rotate our head. So we're turning our head one way or the other, and again we're putting our spine into that rotation, and we're sitting like that for an entire night. So we cause a lot of damage up through the neck, a lot of damage in through the upper back there. So if we are sleeping on our belly, that's one thing that we'd really like to talk to you about, so that we can help to change that and help transition into either side sleeping or back sleeping. Again, just like I mentioned with the pillow between the knees, it's not going to be something where you're going to go home tonight and change that with one night. You'll lay down on your back, you'll start out on your side, and you'll end up on your belly. It happens. We're not going to be perfect. We got to ease our way into that, make those changes gradually, and we'll get you there so that we can help to change that position so that you can feel better getting up in the morning there. So, next thing we're going to talk about is sitting position. So when we're sitting, whether it's in an office chair, whether it's in a chair, at a desk chair, whether it's in a chair at home, whether it's sitting in a car, we should follow some of the same basic rules. So the main thing we look at when we're sitting is our posture with those curvatures like we mentioned before. We want to help support those curves, keeping that neck in a nice C shape forward and that lower back in a nice C shape forward. So if we focus on that lower back curve, if you can see me sitting down here, we want to keep the chest up, head up, and that lower back in a nice curve there. What happens a lot of times when we sit down, we slouch. So we lose that curvature. What happens when we slouch, that curvature turns this way, reverses, we get into this position. And then our head comes forward, and we get all the way here, and we're a one big C rather than the S that we should have in that spine. So a good fix for that, whether we are sitting at a desk chair, whether we're sitting at home or in the car, is having a small pillow to put behind the lower back. Now this is specifically meant for the lumbar spine. This is a lumbar roll. We like these ones because they're a little cushiony, it's not going to cause too much stress, and it's easy to move around to different chairs there. So what happens, you put that behind the back, and then we can lean back and support that curvature in that lower back. So whether we're sitting in the car, we're sitting at home, we're at the office, having a support behind the lower back makes a big difference. Now it doesn't have to be fancy. You know, if you're in the car and you need something, a rolled up sweatshirt does the job just as well as this. If we're at home, a small throw pillow on the couch or the easy chair will help to support that lower back so we're not slouching down there. Next, we're going to look at sitting at a desk and working on a computer. So, when we're sitting at a desk, or for that matter, any other chair, we want to make sure that both of our feet are flat on the floor. We want our knees at about a 90-degree angle. You don't want a desk chair to be up really high or down really low. That causes the legs to be up here or up here. You know, so nice 90-degree angle. If we're working on a computer, we want the keyboard to be at a 90-degree angle with the bend at the elbow. So this one would be a little bit high for me. You can see my arms are up here, my shoulders are up. It's going to cause a lot of tension and stress there. So having the keyboard down a little bit, keyboard, mouse here, so that our shoulders can relax down. The screen should be at eye level. So for me, again, this one would be a little bit too low. You'd want to raise that screen up so that you're looking directly at it rather than looking down. Because when we look down, we're causing that curvature in the spine to straighten out in reverse. So not only with the screens on the computer, if we're on a laptop, we're on an iPad, we're on our phones, we're reading a book, anything we're doing in front of us, we want to keep up here rather than down here. It puts a lot of stress on the neck, a lot of stress into the shoulders and upper back, and it causes that damage in through the curvature of that spine. So keeping up here rather than down here. So finally, we're going to talk a little bit about lifting and moving. So at home, there's certain activities that we do, ones that we might do every day, every week, but it can cause damage and it can cause pain while we're doing those if we're doing them improperly. So first one I want to talk about is lifting. So when we're lifting, we've always all heard it, where you want to lift with your knees and not with your back. So when we're bending down, we don't want to bend like this, we want to bend down at our knees. And we want to keep what we're lifting close to our body. You know, so if we're holding a bowling ball, it's a lot harder to hold it out here than it is to hold it up close. So if we are lifting something with a little bit of weight, keeping it in close to the body takes stress off of the back so that it's not pulling us forward. And when we're moving with that, we want to make sure that we move the whole body with it, keep shoulders back square with whatever we're holding rather than rotating and twisting. So a big thing we see at home is it's not the big heavy things that we're lifting that cause a lot of problems. It's the smaller things that we're doing. It's bending down to tie our shoe. It's bending down to put our sock on. You know, those are where we see a lot of people get injured because we're really not thinking about our posture and about bending properly and moving properly, because bending down to tie your shoe or picking up a pen shouldn't be that hard, but it does put stress on our spine. And it's not the weight, it's the way that we move. So when we're bending down to tie the shoe or pick something small up off the ground, pick up after the kids or after the dog, we want to make sure we're still bending, still using the knees, still properly bending rather than just bending at the waist. One example of this that we see at home with a lot of people is loading or unloading the dishwasher. So people will be standing at the sink here and their dishwasher will be down to the side. What they'll be doing is taking dishes out of the sink, twisting, setting them down into the dishwasher, or vice versa, taking them out of the dishwasher, bringing them up into the cabinets. So it's not a lot of weight with, you know, some silverware, some plates and bowls, but it's the motion itself, that twisting, bending and twisting, bending and twisting, that causes torque in through the spine and in through those lumbar spine joints here, so that bending and twisting causes a lot of problems. That's where we put our discs at their most vulnerable position, and that's where people get injured. So when we're doing that activity, if we're at the sink unloading or loading the dishwasher, we want to make sure, just like we are if we're holding the big box or the bowling ball, we want to keep things close to our body, and we want to move our whole body as a unit. Bending down here, turning the whole body, lifting up here. That rotation, that bending and twisting goes along with vacuuming. We get that a lot in the office. A lot of problems, patients will say they'll have a lot of problems vacuuming. They can't do that without pain, and it's understandable because, again, most people vacuum, they reach forward, they're bending, they're twisting, they're bending, they're twisting. So trying to keep it in front of you, walking behind the vacuum rather than turning and twisting. It does slow our process down a little bit here while you're vacuuming, but you keep your body in a nice neutral position, takes pressure off of the spine there. So I know that's just brief. I know there's many other things that we do at home that can cause problems. So this is just meant to be a little informative video, a little bit of knowledge so that you can take a look at some of the activities you're doing at home so that you can manage that properly, so that as we work with you here in the office, as we start to see improvements, we don't go backwards with improper movements and improper activities at home. So like I said, these aren't meant to be perfect. No one is going to be perfect with these. We're still going to get in bad positions. We're still going to sleep in wrong positions. We're still going to sit in chairs wrong. We're going to still work on a computer wrong. Don't get discouraged. Everyone does it. Myself, everyone here does it, but it's being aware of the proper ways to do it.